If you watched yesterday's video, you'll remember I was saying something about I could make my little piece of photo etch longer by rolling it, but I changed my mind because I knew it would remove the paint. And one of the viewers was sort of wondering, well, can you really do that? Well, I know you can. I used the analogy of an English wheel, but a better analogy would have been a rolling mill. That's the way rolling mills work. Anyway, let's just have a little experiment going on here and have some fun. As far as I can see here, the only piece left on this sheet of photo etch is this one right here, and we're not going to be using it. So what I'll try to do here is cut this as square as I can at the end, and that way it'll be easier to measure. There we go. Yeah, this one will work better. It's almost not wide enough. And there we go. Almost, not quite. Okay, now before I roll it, I'll measure it accurately. Okay, right now this thing is at room temperature. I don't want to be touching it with my hands because that will actually make it expand a little. I know that sounds funny, but it might make a difference. Mind you, this caliper that I'm going to be using is not super accurate anyway. And we're going to do it in metric. We'll do it in millimeters. So I think if I lay this down like this, I should be able to. I think that dime is making it high enough, or is it? No, it's not high enough. Okay, that should work. I'll try this again. Go all the way back down here, make sure it's at 0. I don't know if you can read that or not. I'll get the light just right. Okay. I'll try this again. Oh, I just got a phone call from one of the viewers a few minutes ago, and he had heard episode 200, and at the end there he thought I was depressed. Well, I wasn't depressed. I was embarrassed more than depressed because I'd said I was going to turn a pin. Anyway, here we go. So it looks like it is 50.46 millimeters. Okay. See if I can get that so you can read it. Don't know if it'll work or not. Anyway, it says 50.46. Now this thing is not going to roll nearly as well as that thin piece of photo etch that I had there. Okay, you can already see that something's happening. I guess it doesn't really matter if I touch it with my fingers now. I can let it cool back down to room temperature. It is going to warm up a little bit from the friction of this bearing going over it. I'm sure that right now there's a measurable difference. Okay, we'll get it flattened out and let it cool down to room temperature, which shouldn't take too long. Now I haven't done the whole thing because the ends haven't really been done. Oh, and I went too much the other way. Oh, that looks pretty good. Okay, we'll let that cool down now. Okay, several minutes has passed now. And this thing is probably pretty much at room temperature. I'll try and make it nice and straight, nice and square. Okay, so it's 55.4. What was it before? $55.5. Whoops, I squashed it. It went from 46 to 54, approximately 8/100ths of a millimeter. In other words, about 1/10 of a millimeter. Yeah, so the idea is we can make something stretch out a little bit by rolling it. And something really thin like we were working with yesterday, well, it would have rolled out a lot easier. But like I say, I would have had to repaint it. Anyway, the theory works. Well, it's not a theory. It actually works. Now another viewer had another idea. Some of you may have read it. And he was thinking that if I took that funnel assembly and put it in the freezer, possibly it would contract. And I can't remember what I said, but probably it was something to the effect of I don't know if plastic will contract or not. And I really don't know, so let's just for the fun of it do a little experiment here. Okay. 135.99. Yeah. 98. 98. Okay, let's call it 135.98. Now I'm going to put this in the freezer for a few hours, and then we'll check it out. 135.98. Several hours has passed here. In fact, it's actually the next morning. And my little piece of sprue is still in the freezer in the kitchen behind me. And I was noticing when I was editing out the video last night that when I started opening this up so it would fit the length of sprue, it actually dropped down from 0 to a minus 1/100th of a millimeter. So I guess possibly this wasn't closed all the way, I don't know. However, if you will recall, when we measured it, it was going between 135.98 and 99 and then back and forth. So I think that I'm probably pretty safe if I adjust this. Let's make sure it's on 0. If I adjust this to 135.98, and then the idea being is that I can quickly come from the kitchen with my little piece of sprue before it starts to appreciably warm up. Okay, let's see if I can do this here. I gotta stop talking. If you remember, I can't talk and work at the same time. Getting closer. This is hard to do. What I need is a little adjustment, a little thumb wheel that will micrometer it in and out. Oh, there we are. Don't anybody move. Now, my thinking is that if I bring the sprue out and drop it in this spot, that, oh, it went to 97. Okay, and bring it, now it's at 99. Wonder if this would work. Okay. That's the first time I actually tried that, and it actually worked. So the idea will be that I will bring the sprue out and I will drop it down there, and if there's, if it rattles back and forth, so to speak, we'll know it contracted. So I'm going to go get it now and come back. I'm just going to leave the camera running. We're doing this at real time, so here I go. Actually, I'm back. I forgot to grab the tweezers so I can pick it up without touching it with my fingers. Okay, here we go. It's out of the freezer. Okay, let's get it square here. Yes. You can see it's moving there. Okay, just for the fun of it, let's go in on it. Okay, it went to call it 81. I guess as it warms up, it's going to start expanding. So what's that? About 4/100ths of a millimeter. So the plastic does shrink when it gets cold. Now, wasn't that fun? Okay, I learned two important things just now. And first of all, of course, the obvious is that plastic contracts when it gets cold. And the second is, well, I guess you picked up on that. 135.98 minus 135.81 is 17/100ths of a millimeter, not 4. So the second thing we learned, I can't subtract worth a toot when I'm under pressure. Here we go with another example of if I was to just snip this off like this, I could end up with a little V in the keel, in the bottom of this boat. So I'm going to try once again to use my technique. I'll put the macro lens on, see if it works out better this time. Okay, now the idea is to put on just a little bit of pressure, not very much. Now I can either turn the cutter or I can turn the part. In this case, I'm going to turn the part. I'm keeping a little pressure on, and the sharp edges of the cutter should still keep cutting. You know what? I'm going to turn it the other way because the way the hull is shaped, it doesn't want to. Just got to move up just a little bit here. There we go. Now, when I get horizontal with everything, now I'm going to squeeze the rest of the way. And hopefully the cutter is still going to be at the same height as the keel. Now I've got to be careful here that I don't nip in the wrong place. Okay, let's see what we got now. Okay, now I think when I sand that down, file that down, it should be almost perfect. Now, of course, when we're looking through the macro lens like this, we can see where it was, especially when we get the light to reflect off that area. But let's swing it around here. Look at the other side. Yeah, you can see where it was, but I did a pretty good job. Now the sad part of it is, this is the bottom of the boat. It's going to go on a cradle. In all likelihood, that spot will not be seen. But I had fun. Now let's get the rest of the sprue off and do the rest of the parts. Now here's that little part that, was attached to 3 places on the sprue. And I don't think I'm going to use the nipper on that. I think I'm going to use my photo etch cutting tool to try and remove these. I might be a little bit more accurate. Okay, you can see my pen moving in and out of focus there. That is the pencil part of it. And I'm going to make a little dot where it's the sharpest. I think it's probably right around there. Now the idea is, if I can keep this part over top of that little dot while I'm working on it, it's going to be more or less in focus, right? That is after I stop the lens down. Right now it's opened all the way to f4.8. I'm going to stop it down to f57. And we should increase the sharpness considerably. Okay. And we'll turn on the light here. Now you're going to see what appear to be 3 pegs coming off of each one of these 3 pieces of sprue. Okay, here's a piece of sprue, here's a piece, and here's a piece. And then we got a little peg coming out. I don't want to cut any of them off. This one and this one will go into the holes in the bottom of the hull of that boat that we just fixed up here. So what I want to try to do is very carefully, if I can, okay, I'm going to have to hold this down so it doesn't go flying off. Left quite a bit of sprue on there. It's not going to want to go into the hole in the bottom of the boat. So I'll move just a little bit further back. I'm trying to hold it down with my pointing stick here, but it's so slippery it doesn't want to. Maybe I have to hold it like this. Can you still see it? Here, I'll hold it a little bit like that. It's a little better. There we go. Now this one. Yeah, I'm gonna have to sharpen these a little bit. Well, this one here I don't need to worry about. That one's gonna be just on the bottom of the hull, but the other two, they have to go into the. Just try and sharpen it a bit, get rid of that extra sprue. If I don't hold it down, it's gonna go pinging off. And this is small enough that if it went on the floor, I might not find it. Well, we can try that and see what we got. Okay, I had to use a piece of tape here to keep the hull from moving around on me. And I used my Tamiya nippers to trim those pegs down, make them a little bit more pointy. And this is actually the first time I'm trying this, so I might have to trim them down some more yet, I don't know. Okay, it's supposed to fit in those holes just like that. And it's not going to stay there by itself unless I was to put some, some glue or something there to make everything sticky. Okay, it appears that the one in the back I don't know, maybe if I was to put a little bit of Tamiya extra thin on those pegs, they would dissolve a little bit. As you can imagine, this is going to be very easily broken off. Okay, I've used a little bit of Tamiya extra thin here. I'm just sort of moving it back and forth to sort of wiggle it down. I think it's in the right place. Now I just grabbed one of these tins at random here, and it turns out the one I grabbed was the very bottom one, E10, 31, and 21. And the propeller that we need for that is Photo Etch A45. Okay, here's the A sprue, or sheet rather, and the propeller, there's 45 right there, this tiny little thing. But you know what, we're going to have to do that tomorrow. Oh, and by the way, to all of you who were so understanding about me not turning a pen today, thank you very much. So, all being well, we'll see you tomorrow, and thanks for watching.